The potatoes coming out of the truck, going up the elevator on the seed cutter. All right, guys, well, we have something exciting going on now. We're finally getting into seed cutting. So this is what I'm looking at. We have our first truck here just backed up. So they're hauling the seed in from a seed grower that's about an hour away. And so we have to transload it. So they're not backing it right onto our seed cutter. We have to transload. So normally we would have our even flow bin here. That's what we did last year. And they could just dump full speed into that. But we're transloading onto our piler. And then we have all of our trucks. So we just switched all of our truck beds. And that's what we're going to be using. So we're going to be using the truck beds to make sure we can get all the semis unloaded fast enough. And hopefully be able to keep up. We're only getting 6 semis a day. But we should be able to keep up with that as long as they get them cut fast enough. It takes 45 minutes to cut a 10-wheeler load of seed. So once we get going here, kind of show you how this process works, and I'll take you down in the cellar. He's unloading now. We have to unload really slow because we have it plugged into power. It's our power cord. And the motors on there plugged into power, they don't run very fast. So he's unloading. We'll get this truck unloaded. It only takes maybe 15 minutes to unload a semi. So what's different about seed potatoes is they're usually really little. Oh, if I can grab one. So that's actually a pretty big one. Most of them are pretty little, about the size of a tennis ball. That's what you want for seed. And then you can see in the back of the truck, the pile is starting to build up. We can usually put a semi into, it'll fill 2 10-wheeler beds. So we have this truck and this truck. So that should be able to hold this entire semi. Each of these semis will hold about 600 sacks. Sometimes they get them over, and there's a couple semis that they get up to 700 sacks. Help him get his tarp unhooked so he can roll it up. So if it has 700 sacks in it, then we will not be able to get it into 2 10-wheelers because the 10-wheelers will only hold 300 sacks each. You can overload them a little bit, but not 100 sacks. So if they've got 700 sacks, then we'll have to wait for another 10-wheeler. But we do have all of these 10-wheelers over here ready to go too. So that's why we decided to switch all the beds instead of just switching a few. Usually we only have to do about 4 or 5 trucks. This year we decided to do all of them because we don't have that even flow. Then we have the planters over there in the background just ready to go. We still have one planter we have not got ready. We have that one, and then the other one is right there. The one we haven't got ready, the planter's still sitting right there. We're waiting for the tractor. The tractor that will go on is currently planting grain, so we don't have that tractor. It seems like there's always something that is breaking. So you can see I have a little puddle right here. This line right here has a hole in it right there. So it's just running down and dripping right there, making a little puddle. It's not bad, and we can add more fluid, but it would be good to change that if we have a little bit of downtime. It's only about a 2-foot long hose, so. Okay, so he's going over, back down into the cellar. We're going to finish loading this last truck. Hopefully it'll all fit. We'll see. Okay, this semi is all empty. At least I hope he's empty. He better not have any left in there. Ah, yeah, he's empty. He's all empty. And the other semi, the last semi just showed up. So we're getting 3 semis, and then they all go back up and get another load, and then we get 3 more. So we just finished loading this truck. Now we're going to back up the other semi. We had our other guy go get 2 more trucks, so he's going to pull those around, and we'll get this next one unloaded. It's a little windy and dusty out here, if you can't tell. A little crooked, but we'll get them. All right, we just got this truck full, so I'm going to take it over and back it into the cellar. And then I'll show you what they're doing down there. How we actually cut the seed to make it the size that we need. We just barely got this cellar cleaned out. They just took the spuds out of it probably 2.5 weeks ago. We still have 6.5 cellars full of potatoes. Okay, I just got to the cellar. I was going to back into the cellar, but it's already full of trucks. So this one's just going to be parked outside for a little bit. Walking down into the cellar. Well, now I could probably pull it in. They hadn't moved that one forward yet. But now I could probably pull it in. We will walk down here. So this right here, this is our hay seed. We have a little bit of hay to plant, but that's coming up. Walking back here, we have these bags on these pallets. So this is the dust. So it's basically sawdust that's what goes on the potatoes after they're cut and treated with the wet chemical to help dry them out. Because you don't want them to be wet, you want them to dry up, or else it plugs up the planters, and then it just helps them more when they're actually in the ground starting to grow. So we have a dump truck on this side with that little piler, and that's what takes the chips, like the little tiny pieces that wouldn't ever grow a potato. That's what takes those, and then it takes and dumps them out. So, but on this side, this is the truck that's actually unloading right now. And I hope you can hear me. I got a mic with a windscreen, so that's why it's not as windy outside in the mic. So here we have the potatoes coming out of the truck, going up the elevator on the seed cutter. This belt we just changed in an earlier video. So up here, what happens, if I can fit up here on this little catwalk, what happens up here is the little tiny ones, they'll fall through right here. They won't have to be cut. They'll drop through and go out the end. The next one, these, the ones that are a little bit bigger but not small enough to fit through here, they'll fall through right here and go to the bottom table. And then they'll get cut down here. The bigger ones that won't fall through here, they go through on this top roller, and this lines them up sideways so they're nice and straight, because right there are all the knives. So there's a bunch of spinning knives right there, they're like discs. And the potatoes roll into them, and it cuts them. Just cuts them up. Now here's the bottom row. So you can see right here, maybe not, but that's where the small ones fall through. If it'll focus, you can kind of see them falling. And then over here, this is where the next size ones fall through from the top, and they land on these star rollers here, and they'll go and they get straightened out right here, and it just rolls them slowly, and there's another set of discs down here on the bottom. So this is how the seed actually gets cut. Now on the bottom, they only get cut once. they'll get cut in half like this. But on the top, here's the top gets cut, and then there's a blade right there. On the other side of those, there's these rubber rollers. There's a blade on the other side that cuts them again, just to make them extra small. And then when they go through the top and the bottom, they come out here. And you can see that most of them are cut. It takes those big pieces of potatoes, big seed pieces, and it cuts them into small, almost like a little bit bigger than a golf ball. But you can also see that there are some that do not get cut, and that's what these guys are here for. So we have 6 guys here, and they're taking the seed that didn't get cut, and they're cutting it on these knives. There's just knives right here. So they're cutting those seed pieces that didn't quite get cut, didn't make it through, maybe they snuck past somehow, and they're cutting them into chunks that are about the size of a golf ball, maybe a little bit bigger, because that's the ideal seed size for the air cut planters. After that, we come back here. So we service these dusters. So this one puts on the liquid. So it's got liquid in this tank here. And that's what these are, this Cruiser Max Vibrance. It's just it's a seed starter. So it's a starter fertilizer, it helps it grow. So we mix that up in here. In here there's a big paddle wheel, and it just kind of mixes it up. Mixes it up there, and then this pumps it in here, and inside here there's a big spinning, it looks like a strainer. It's like a spinning strainer, and that throws it out, and it covers the seed. It coats all the seed that's dumping in that liquid. And then after that, it comes out of there, all nice and wet and coated, and it flows into this. This is the duster. So this has this bin of basically sawdust, and it's just dumping the sawdust in there with it, and it's tumbling it like a cement mixer. And it looks like a cement mixer inside. It just tumbles it, and then it all comes out here on the end. So if I take one of these seed pieces, you can see that it's kind of dirty. Let me see if I can get one that's cut. So you can see it just has a little bit of dirt on it, and that helps seal up this cut and make it so it dries out. From there, it goes up this piler, and we just pile it back here in the back. So we've just started this pile. It's a little pile, but by the end, this cellar will be clear full. But for now, we just have this little pile here. So on the other side of the pile, luckily they haven't got it filled up so I can come back to the back. On the other side of the pile, we have our scooper, and we have another little piler. So this, when we're all done, this will come in from the back and scoop in, and that's how they'll load it. They'll load trucks here, and they'll take it out the other end, and that's how we'll go and we'll plant it in the field. So we'll load the trucks here, take them out to the planters, we'll take it from this end. But it is a good pile of seed. The seed looks pretty good. It's pretty good size too. So one year we had seed that was really big and it was hard to work with, but this year it looks really good. And then right here we have Trevor and Travis. They're checking the seed, so they'll take seed samples every so often, and they have these charts. So we have a chart here that has what type of seed you have, what type of seed you're getting, and they take a weight. So they'll take so much weight, and they'll measure it out, and they'll put the seed down here. And basically, this is how they dial in our seed cutter. So they'll take the seed, they'll weigh it, they'll sort it into different things, and our ideal If it's in the wrong spot, we can make adjustments. Our ideal size is this middle row. If it's in the wrong spot, we can make adjustments and get that seed to where it's all uniform size. So that's what they're doing here. Here is Trevor. He is going through a bucket. He gets a bucket of potatoes, and then he puts them on this chart. And you can see all the different sizes. We're mainly looking for these 2 rows. So we got some that are a little bigger, a couple that are a little smaller, but the majority are in that ideal range of the size of seed we want. But yeah, that's our seed cutting operation. And we'll be doing this for it takes about 8 days to get all of the seed cut. So we'll be hauling in, we're getting 30,000 sacks of seed potatoes, and we have to cut all of it. Now I gotta head back out and go help Josh. He's transloading from the semi, and I gotta go help him with that job. So, and then in between that, I'm putting the flatbed on one of our other trucks. But thanks for joining me today. We're going to be cutting seed for a while, and then we'll get into planting. But yeah, that's pretty much how we cut seed.